Melissa Jordan had lived in the building for 6 weeks, and the woman at the front desk had checked her identity almost every single day. The lobby was never fully empty at 6 in the evening. There was always someone coming through, residents returning from work, deliveries being signed for, the quiet rhythm of a building that never stopped moving. Melissa Jordan had learned the rhythms of it in the weeks since she moved in the way she learned the rhythms of every space she inhabited quietly, completely, without making a performance of the attention she was paying. She came through the doors after a client meeting with her portfolio under her arm and the particular focused energy of someone whose mind was still half inside a problem she had just spent 3 hours solving. And right on cue, Lim Dahi was watching her. Lim Dahi was at the front desk. She was always at the front desk when Melissa came through. Melissa had noticed this approximately 2 weeks in and had filed it away without comment. Miss Jordan. Melissa kept walking toward the elevator. Miss Jordan. She stopped. Turned. Dahi came around the desk with the unhurried movement of someone who had decided they had authority in this space and wanted every person present to register it before anything else happened. I'm going to need to see your key fob again, Miss Jordan, Dahi said. A pause. Not because Melissa needed to find it, but because she was deciding whether to comply. We've had some security concerns in the building. The lobby held its usual early evening population. 2 residents at the elevator. A couple coming in from outside, still unwinding scarves. The concierge at his station looked carefully at nothing. Melissa looked at her. You've checked my key fob every day for 6 weeks, she said. You know exactly who I am. It's standard procedure, Dahi said. For all residents. Is it? Melissa said. Because I have never once seen you ask anyone else. Ms. Jordan, I'm going to have to ask you to comply or I will need to. Need to what? Melissa said. Not loud. Just clear. The particular clarity of a woman who has been absorbing small things for 6 weeks and has decided that today is the day she stops absorbing quietly. Contact someone? Please do. I live here. I pay to live here. I have never once caused a problem in this building. She looked around the lobby at every face that was pretending not to watch. And you know that. Dahi stepped closer, lowered her voice to the register designed to feel intimate and threatening simultaneously. There have been complaints, she said. From who? I'm not at liberty. From who? Melissa said again. Into the lobby. Clearly. Without flinching. Silence. A man near the elevator shifted his weight but didn't turn around. The couple by the door went quiet in that careful, practiced way people do when they want to watch without being seen watching. Melissa noticed all of it. Not because she needed support, but because she understood exactly what kind of moment this was becoming. Public. Intentional. And not an accident. Then the elevator doors opened. Kang Hyunwoo stepped out. He read the lobby in 1 second, the way he read every room, completely and without appearing to. His eyes moved from Dahi to Melissa. Then back to Dahi. Something in his expression didn't change exactly but sharpened in a way that was visible to anyone paying attention. Dahi saw him. The transformation in her face was fast and practiced. For a split second, before the practiced warmth settled in, something sharper flickered underneath. Not surprise. Not concern. Something closer to being interrupted. The authority she had been wielding rearranged itself into something warmer and more careful before he had taken 3 steps out of the elevator. Hi, no SSI. Is there a problem, he said. Quietly. Not to Melissa. To Dahi. The lobby felt the weight of that distinction immediately. Dahi opened her mouth. Closed it. No, she said. No problem. He looked at her for a moment longer than was comfortable. Then his eyes moved to Melissa, brief, direct, the complete look of a man who has seen exactly what happened and has stored every detail of it. He walked toward the exit without another word. Melissa watched the door close behind him. Then she turned back to Dahi. Have a good evening, she said pleasantly. And took the elevator. She didn't shrink. Not once. But here is what Lim Dahi didn't account for: the man who just walked through that lobby had seen everything. And he was not just passing through. Stay with me until the end. Because what happens next changes everything for all 3 of them. Hit like and subscribe if you love stories where the right woman always wins. 3 weeks earlier, Melissa had been in the elevator alone when the doors opened on the ground floor and Hyunwoo stepped in. He pressed the top floor button. She looked at it briefly and said nothing. He caught her looking. "You're the new tenant," he said. Not a question. The way someone states something they already know and is simply confirming. 6 weeks ago, she said. Hardly new. Something moved at the corner of his mouth. In this building, 6 weeks is new. How long have you been here? She asked. He looked at the numbers above the door. On and off, he said. She looked at the top floor button again. Top floor. Yes. Nice view, she said. It is, he said. The elevator stopped at her floor. She stepped out, turned back briefly. Melissa, she said. Just her name. Offered the way you offer something to someone you might see again. He looked at her for a moment. Hyunwoo, he said. The doors closed. She walked to her apartment and set her things down and stood in her living room thinking about her project. And for reasons she didn't examine, she thought about that elevator longer than she intended. Melissa Jordan chose this building the way she chose everything, with intention. Clean. Efficient. Quiet. A place where things worked the way they were supposed to. She had been right about everything except one thing. Lim Dae-hee had been warm and efficient the morning Melissa moved in. Had helped with paperwork, shown her the amenities, and answered every question smoothly. And then, almost immediately, the small things had begun. The noise complaint was filed at 9:47 p.m. on a Tuesday when Melissa had been sitting quietly reading. The maintenance request was submitted 3 times and acknowledged 0. The package was held at the front desk for 4 days without notification. The letter about a building policy she had never seen cited for anyone else. Each thing small. Together, a pattern. Deliberate and sustained and designed to make her feel like a problem in a place she had chosen and paid for and had every right to inhabit completely. Melissa had said nothing. She had opened a document and begun recording everything. The document wasn't emotional. It was precise. Dates. Times. Language used. Copies of every notice. Screenshots. She didn't write opinions. She wrote facts. Because in her experience, facts didn't argue, they accumulated. And when they accumulated long enough, they became leverage. She had not yet connected it to anything beyond dislike. But she recognized patterns. And she never ignored them twice. She did not know about Hyunwoo's mother. She did not know about the architecture underneath what was happening to her. She knew only that something was wrong. And that she was not going anywhere. Lim Dae-hee had been managing Hyunwoo residences for 3 years. She had been placed there by the building's owner, a position she had earned through efficiency and the particular loyalty of someone who had made her entire professional identity out of being useful to one family. She ran the building meticulously. Everything in its right place. Everything operating exactly as it was supposed to. She was also waiting. Not for an opportunity for him. For the version of him that might one day look at her and finally see something worth choosing. Hyunwoo came to the building when he needed to step out of his life for a while. The top floor was the one place he kept entirely separate from everything else. No meetings, no business conducted there, just the particular silence of somewhere that asked nothing of him. He came sometimes for a night, sometimes for a week. He kept no schedule. He told no one when he was coming. Dae-hee was always there when he arrived. She had structured the entire rhythm of her professional life around being present in a space he occupied occasionally. She told herself this was dedication. The part underneath dedication she did not examine closely. He was always courteous with her. Warm in the distracted way of a man who is warm to the people around him without it meaning anything specific. He had never once looked at her the way she wanted to be looked at. She noticed that. And continued anyway. When Melissa Jordan's application came through, the name, the photograph, the profession, something moved through Dae-hee that she did not look at directly. She approved the application because she had no grounds to reject it. But she had not been welcoming. And she had not been careful about hiding it. Hyunwoo knocked on Melissa's door 2 evenings after the lobby incident. Melissa opened it and found him in the hallway, not performing casualness, just there. The way a man stands when he has decided to do something and has decided not to make a production of it. I wanted to apologize for what happened in the lobby, he said. You didn't do anything, she said. No, he said. But you shouldn't have had to deal with that. She held the door, held his gaze, considered him with the measuring, unhurried attention she brought to everything that mattered. Would you like to come in? She said. He came in. He looked around her apartment the way she had looked around spaces her entire career, reading the choices, the intention behind every decision, the particular way a room told you who someone was before they opened their mouth. The space was warm and precise and entirely specific to the person who lived in it. You designed this yourself, he said. Occupational habit, she said. He looked at a detail on the far wall, a choice that was unexpected and entirely correct, and said nothing for a moment. It's good, he said. You sound surprised. I'm not, he said simply. She went to the kitchen. Tea? Yes, he said. They talked easily at first. About work. About clients who didn't know what they wanted but insisted they did. And then, without either of them marking the shift, the conversation deepened. You don't seem like someone who second-guesses decisions, he said at one point. I do, Melissa replied. I just don't let it change them after they're made. He watched her for a moment. That's a very expensive habit. Only if you're wrong, she said. Something in his expression changed then, not amusement, not surprise. Recognition. Melissa told him about her current project, a hospitality space that was giving her trouble, a client who kept saying elegant and meaning cold. He listened and said 4 words that unlocked the entire problem, and she looked at him across her kitchen table with the specific expression of someone who has just been surprised by a person they were in the process of underestimating. How did you? I've been in rooms where saying the wrong thing costs millions, he said simply. She laughed. The real one, unguarded and warm. He left at 10. She stood at her closed door for a moment afterward. She called her best friend. The man from the top floor came to apologize, she said. For what? The lobby situation. He came to your door. Yes. And how long? A pause. 2 hours. Her best friend said nothing for a moment. Melissa. Good night, Melissa said. She already knew. After that, Hyunwoo came back. Not with reasons. Not with explanations. Just back. 3 days later, he knocked again. She opened the door and stepped aside, and he came in, and it had already started to feel like something that didn't need to justify itself. He began staying longer. Coming back sooner. What had been an occasional escape from his life was quietly becoming something he came toward rather than retreated to. He noticed this without naming it the way you notice a change in the quality of light, not sudden, just present, and then more present, and then impossible to imagine having been absent. She showed him her studio one afternoon, walked him through a project she was in the middle of, a private residence with a client particular in the way that made the work interesting rather than difficult. He stood in her workspace and looked at the drawings on the walls and was quiet for a long moment. This is what you do, he said. This is what I do, she said. He looked at her. You're very good at it. I know, she said simply. He smiled. She saw it before he contained it. He told her about his work in the way he told her about most things directly, without excess. Enough for her to understand the weight of it without details that didn't concern her. She listened completely. Asked questions that were precise and honest and occasionally uncomfortable, and he answered them because she asked things she actually wanted to know the answers to rather than things designed to impress him with the asking. They were careful with each other in the way of 2 people who are both aware something is building and have both independently decided not to rush it. No declarations. No name thing. Just the accumulation of evenings and conversations, and the particular ease of 2 people who had found something in each other they had not been specifically looking for. He watched all of it from the lobby. She saw the access logs. The first time his key fob registered on Melissa's floor, she told herself it meant nothing. The 3rd time, she stopped checking the time. By the 5th, she knew exactly how long he stayed. She knew when the intervals between his visits started shrinking from weeks to days, sometimes twice in the same week. She felt each data point like something physical pressing against her chest. The small things she had been doing to Melissa became bigger things. A formal noise complaint with a fabricated witness statement. A lease violation letter citing a clause about home businesses. Technically, Melissa sometimes worked from her apartment. Technically, there was a clause. Technically, Dahi had found something she could use. A building inspection request designed not to find anything but to inconvenience and remind someone that they were being watched. And a call to Kang Ji-yeon. She kept her voice professional. Reported what she had observed. The hours. The frequency. The pattern building in the access logs she had been watching with the specific attention of someone who told herself it was building management. Ji-yeon listened to everything. "I'll come," she said. Ji-yeon arrived on a Thursday afternoon. She came through the lobby and Dahi was already moving toward her, warm, attentive, the particular readiness of someone who had been waiting for this arrival and had decided how she wanted it to go. Melissa was in the elevator. Their eyes met across the lobby. Ji-yeon looked at her with the unhurried, assessing directness of a woman who had been making decisions about people for decades and made no attempt to disguise what she was doing. Melissa met her eyes and held them without looking away and without performing anything. Just there. Present and completely herself. Something moved in Ji-yeon's expression. She turned to Dahi. "Show me the file." They went to the office. Ji-yeon went through everything Dahi had built over 6 weeks. She read the noise complaint, the lease violation letter, the witness statement, read it twice, and looked up. "This witness moved out 3 weeks before the date on this document," she said. Dahi straightened slightly. "There may have been a clerical." "Don't," Ji-yeon said. "Quiet. Final." The room went still. "You falsified a legal document," Ji-yeon said. The quiet of a woman who is more dangerous at low volume than at high. "I was protecting the buildings." "You created a legal liability for this family," Ji-yeon said. "And you did it because of my son." Dahi said nothing. Because denying it would have required her to lie in a way even she couldn't justify. Ji-yeon closed the file. Stood. That woman in the lobby just held my gaze without flinching. A pause. She is not someone who is going to be moved by noise complaints. Dahi stared at her. "You're being transferred," Ji-yeon said. "Effective immediately." She left the office. Crossed the lobby without looking at Melissa. But at the door she paused briefly, and something in her posture when she pushed through it was different from when she had arrived. More measured. More thoughtful. Dahi stood in the office alone with the file in her hands and felt the floor of everything she had built shift underneath her. Melissa watched the car pull away from her window. Then she sat at her desk and opened her laptop. Hanwoo Residences. Registered owner, Hanwoo Group. She searched further. Hanwoo Group. Kang Ji-yeon. She sat back. And everything about the past weeks suddenly made sense. One more search. Kang Hyunwoo. Hanwoo Group. She sat with that for a long time. Looking at her apartment, the space she had chosen and refused to be pushed out of. Looking at what she now understood about the man who had been coming through her door for the past several weeks. She didn't call him. She sat with it overnight. Not the money. Not the ownership. The access. The quiet authority in the way he moved through the building, how no one questioned him, how no one stopped him. She replayed every interaction with that knowledge layered over it. And realized something that surprised her more than anything else: he had never used it. Not once. Hyunwoo knocked the next evening. She opened the door. Let him in. Made tea. She brought it through and sat across from him and was quiet for a moment in the particular way that told him something had shifted. "Your mother came to the building yesterday," she said. "You knew what was happening, and you still knocked on my door." He went completely still. "I didn't know that," he said. "I know," she said. "I could tell." She looked at her cup. "I searched the building registration after she left." "Your family owns this building." He held her gaze. "Yes. And the building manager was placed here by your mother." "Yes." She nodded slowly. "Did you know what she was doing to me?" "Not until I pulled the file," he said. "I had my administrator review all formal notices issued in the last 60 days. One of the witness statements cited someone who had moved out 3 weeks before the incident date." He paused. "That's when I called my mother." "When was that?" "4 days ago," he said. She absorbed that. He had already been moving on it before his mother arrived. Before she found anything out. He had pulled the file, found the fabrication, called his mother, and his mother had come and dismissed Dahi herself. "She didn't side with her," Melissa said. Thinking out loud more than asking. "No," he said. "She wouldn't." Whatever my mother's opinions are about my life, she would not expose this family to legal liability for anyone. Melissa was quiet for a moment, processing the full picture of it: Dahee's obsession, Ji-yeon's arrival, the dismissal, the way Ji-yeon had looked at her across the lobby before going into that office. She came to look at me, Melissa said. Yes, he said. I called her this morning, after she told me she had come. What did she say? He looked at her. She said you were not what she expected. Melissa held that. Coming from a woman who had just watched her hold her gaze without flinching across a lobby and had dismissed her own building manager as a result, not what she expected carried its own specific weight. Is that good or bad? She asked. From my mother, he said, unexpected is the closest thing to a compliment. She looked at him for a long moment. You should have told me. About the building. Yes, he said. Simply. Without defense. Why didn't you? Would it have changed anything? He asked. She considered that honestly. No, she said. But I would have been watching you differently. He was quiet for a moment, the honest quiet of a man finding the precise answer. Because the first time I knocked on your door, I wanted you to open it for the right reason, he said. Not because of what I own. She held that. I would have opened it anyway, she said. Something in his expression settled into something warmer than his default. I know that now, he said. The apartment was quiet around them. The city moved outside her window. The building that had spent 6 weeks trying to make her feel like a problem sat around them now, hers, completely and without argument, the way it had always been supposed to be. She looked at him across the space between them. You think she's going to make this easy? Melissa said. Your mother. No, he said. She won't. He held her gaze. She also won't be the deciding factor in anything I decide. You sound very certain about that. I am, he said simply. She was quiet for a moment. The project I told you about, she said. The hospitality space. It opened last week. He looked at her. Is that your way of telling me it went well? It is, she said. Then, after a brief pause, just enough to make the next part intentional, she was quiet for a moment. Not uncertain, just thinking. Because this wasn't just about him anymore. It was about everything that came with him. I want you to see it. He held her gaze. That sounds like a reason. It is, she said. A beat. Then, more clearly. But it's also me asking you on a date. The words settled between them without awkwardness. Without hesitation. Just there. Something in his expression shifted. Not surprise. Not uncertainty. Recognition. I was wondering how long it would take you to say that, he said. She smiled slightly. I don't rush decisions. No, he said. You don't. He leaned back just enough to study her fully. Then yes, he said. I'd like that. A brief pause. But I'll choose where, he added. Melissa smiled. And, just like that, something unspoken finally had a name. The building settled around them, quiet and entirely hers, and whatever was between them finally had all the room it needed to become exactly what it was going to be. If you made it this far, then you already know. Melissa was never the problem. She was the one they should have been careful with. But tell me this, would you have handled it the way she did, or walked away earlier? Like this video if you saw that coming. And subscribe, because the next story, you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching.